Welcome to the episode of Jay Leno's Garage. You know, Bernard went motorcycle racing last weekend, as he usually does, and came back all excited. Oh, he's jumping up now. I go, Bernard, calm down. What is it? Well, he went sidecar racing. Now he races your Honda, and you race your what other bike do you have?
Both Hondas.
Both Hondas, okay.
Yeah.
And he does some vintage racing too, but usually just on 2 wheels. This is the first time you ever tried 3 wheels. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now is now we got to get a 3-wheeler. The tears are going to start. We have to do this now. And this is a classic example of vintage sidecar, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
This is out of Becker Motor Works. I know that name. I've seen it around.
He's the guru.
Yeah.
On the sidecars.
And sidecar motorcycle racing is another whole level. Almost anything you learn in motorcycles, just forget about it.
You know, it's not like driving a car or racing a bike. It's something totally different, all on its own.
I mean, look at just the square edge tire that you have here.
You could never work on that on a
No,
street
that would
bike.
never work on a street bike. And you still got the Earl's fork, and is that because it's got to be a bit more rigid because of the sidecar?
I think the Earl's fork is very rigid, and you know, BMW started out making these in the 50s or 60s, and they've been doing that all along.
And the person that rides in the sidecar is usually called the monkey, isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I tried that once.
And you kind of jump from side to side, and you transfer your weight, and it's a lot of fun. And they're incredibly fast. And this is more of a classic sidecar. What year would this be?
Probably in the 60s.
60s? Mid-60s, something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, like everything else, sidecar racing progresses, and these are more modern examples of what people are doing now. This is Bill Becker. Bill, come on in. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
You're the big sidecar guy. You're the one that got Bernard started in this.
Yeah, I sure did.
I know. Now we got to add some. Now we got something else going here.
We're all in trouble now.
Okay. So what? Now, whereas that starts with obviously a BMW, it's had a sidecar added to it, and the geometry has changed. But basically, it's a BMW. This really bears no relation to a motorcycle, does it?
None whatsoever. It's mostly car parts or car design in the braking and in its geometry, but it has a motorcycle engine.
Right.
So the basics of the power plant are where sidecars began.
Now, must you have handlebars, or could you have a steering wheel?
By rule, you have to have handlebars, and you have to be in a motorcycle prone position, which is knees down, feet back. This would be considered an F1 sidecar, and an F1 sidecar is rear engine, 88-inch wheelbase, and the passenger's way back here with no contact with the driver.
And why, whereas the passenger sits alongside the rider, why is the passenger back here? Is it better weight distribution?
Actually, it's more so the speed and weight distribution. Okay. The faster the cars went, they had to become a bit more streamlined, that being a front exit, the old style vintage, this being a rear exit. Front exit at 170 miles an hour would be a real squirrely.
Yeah, yeah.
This here at that kind of speed is a little bit more relaxing for the passenger.
Is this more relaxing for the passenger?
Yeah.
And really, that's what it is. Is this 2-wheel drive or single-wheel drive?
It's single-wheel drive like a motorcycle with a sidecar. The concept is the same.
Is that another rule? You must have single-wheel drive, or can you have 2-wheel drive?
You know, they've never really specified whether it's single or 2. I suppose a guy like you could make it 2, but...
Well, is there any advantage to 2-wheel drive, or do you want to get the slide factor?
Oh, it's a slide factor. It's a slide car, even in the old days. That's why it had the square tires, is because you had to drift it. You really couldn't steer it. You aim it and drift it.
Now, you're not counter-steering like you do on a motorcycle,
correct?
Not at
all. Not at all.
Is it more like steering a car that way? Is it?
It's absolutely like racing. This would be like racing a Ferrari because it has feel, and as the car begins to come undone, you have the correct ability. You can get in there and move it back to where you need it.
Now, how hard is it for your average motorcycle? Now, Bernard's been racing motorcycles now for 30 years at least. How hard is it for a motorcycle racer to adjust to sidecar? Is it second nature, or do they have to relearn everything?
You know, I found the sidecar to be very twitchy compared to a motorcycle, which is pretty stable. But it's very responsive. I mean, you think about turning that handlebar, you're gone.
Yeah, well, no, Bernard kind of got it. He went from 1 or A to like D.
Right.
If he was on a standard motorcycle and a motorcycle guy who was familiar with speed, if he got on to what they call an F2, that's like more of a modern motorcycle with a sidecar. So the position, the feel, the way that it acts would be more the same as a motorcycle.
Well, I know about going from A to D because I did that all through high school. I went A to F, actually, which was better for me. So is there counter steering? everyone knows in a motorcycle you want to go left, you turn right. I know it doesn't make any sense, but try it. Is there counter steering or no counter steering?
I would say no counter steering.
So that's...
You want to go right, you turn the
right.
thing to the right.
It's like driving a car.
What power plant do you use on these?
This is a Suzuki water-cooled motor. It's 1,000 cc. It is basically like a Hayabusa, but it's a little bit smaller than the Hayabusa.
You're limited to 1,000 cc's?
Limited to 1,000 cc's.
And can you do anything to the motor? Or can you make it as powerful as you want, or there certainly must remain stock compression ratio or anything of that nature?
No, you can do whatever you want to do, but the way that the Japanese have built motors nowadays, there isn't really much you can do. I mean, it comes out of the box with 165, 185 horsepower.
Okay. So what's the weight of this?
About 600 pounds.
600. So you're about 250 pounds more than the racing motorcycle.
Solo bike, yes.
Okay, so it's like carrying me. Okay, basically. Okay. And I know in the old days with the old sidecar, guys were shifting left and right. Same thing on this, or is much moving around, or are you more restricted?
Well, it varies. Because it's a vintage and it's a front exit, there's a lot more acrobatics on the vintage cars.
Yeah.
And then on the F2 car, it's completely different than it would be on the F1 car.
Show me the seating position
The,
that you said was more comfortable for the passenger. So you're kneeling.
You're kneeling, your toes are usually out, you're in a position that's probably like this in a straightaway or as tucked in as you can be.
And that's a handhold over here,
It's a handhold here, and there's some more on the other side of the body. If you went out for a right, you would slide up over the back and you would catch the body handholds here. Here's your right hand, and then when you come back in, it's both knees in, both feet out, and then you're sliding over this way and pushing the rest of the meat out.
And it's way more comfortable
Oh,
for
yeah.
the path.
Yeah.
I know when I take my wife out, she's going to like this more than that when we go out to dinner, because she's going to be able to hang on more and more.
Absolutely.
Wow, pretty amazing.
You know, I rode on an F2 car as a passenger, and it's very physical.
Yeah, yeah.
And I did 2 laps, and I was done.
Yeah,
I was
you're
toast.
Yeah, I did enough passengering to know I don't want to be a passenger.
They work really hard. You know.
And is it like a jockey? Do you try to find the lightest possible passenger? You're looking for that 88-pound girlfriend to stick on here? I mean, how's that work?
Believe it or not, I've had a lot of girls in fast sidecars, and they seem to be a bit more cat-like. And for the car and the driver, the less you can upset it, the better off you are. But nowadays, I have a passenger, in fact, my son is about 190 pounds, and that works very well. But I prefer about 150 pounds.
In a race, how important is that passenger? It isn't just dead weight back here.
Oh, no, not at all.
They've got to know what they're doing.
They absolutely do. They can drive this race car from the back by the movements and the pressures that they put on the various footholds here. I can steer the car, aim the car, and drive the car and get on the gas when I can get on the gas. But if he's not doing or she's not doing their job correctly, then you can't go fast. There's just no way.
And what kind of speeds are we talking about?
Up to, I would say, in the 170 range.
170.
Yeah.
Now, is there any advantage? Are you allowed to have enclosed for aerodynamics?
You can't get any more enclosed than what you see here.
I mean,
with
a cover
these.
over the top.
No, cannot.
Oh, okay.
No Hans device, no seat belt.
Now, your braking, is it linked?
On some it is, and on others, the F2 is not linked. It'll be a standard motorcycle feel. You have front and rear. These will be linked.
On a motorcycle, obviously, 80%, 75% of your braking is your front wheel. With 2 wheels in the back, is it the same with this, or do you have more?
More in the rear.
More in the rear. So are you about 50-50?
Pretty close. You actually really want about 60-40 because you want the chassis to settle before you enter the corner.
Gotcha.
It's actually like a Formula One car missing a wheel as far as suspension is concerned. In some cases, this is a particular swing arm suspension, so it's limited.
And you do all the fiberglass work? You design these bodies?
Correct.
Is that correct? Oh,
correct.
very nicely done. Yeah.
Built the body molds.
Cool.
I build them from a pile of steel to the paintwork.
Yeah.
Can we get the body off of this and have a look at the frame under it?
I'd love to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a standard A-arm.
As you can see, and is this your brake here?
That's a shifter and brakes on the other side.
Brakes on the other side. As you see, very comfortable.
There's actually knees inside the bodywork and a chest piece inside the bodywork, and you're pretty locked in once you get in.
That's your fuel cell?
This is a fuel cell.
Okay, your motor right here. Anybody running air-cooled? There's no advantage to that, huh?
Not anymore.
What are we looking about? A half inch off the ground? Inch off the ground?
3 inches is legal limit.
3 inches. You can't be any lower than 3 inches?
No lower than 3 inches.
Okay.
The design of the final drive is Ford Escort GT RS 11.5-inch ventilated car rotors.
Yeah.
Those are Wellwood brakes. It's basically the front drive half shaft out of the same Ford Escort GT. The front and chair spindles are all out of Honda Accord wagon rear.
Okay. You can make whatever parts you want. You're not limited to motorcycle materials only.
Not at all.
Okay.
It just has to be a motorcycle power plant.
Oh, it does have to. You couldn't use an automotive power plant.
You know, it's funny because the British sidecar classic rules will allow them to use a automotive engine because at the time they were using like the Mini, the little 1200cc Mini.
Right. If you get more power with these.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, motorcycle technology so far surpasses
yeah.
automotive technology, especially in smaller engines, like the Hayabusa. That little engine right over there makes 488 horsepower.
Yeah,
you like that in here?
Oh, yeah. I'll take one of those.
Yeah, that'll work. That's 3 liter. So that would really, really go.
Indeed.
And this one is?
This would be an F2. Now, this is front engine, 65-inch wheelbase, and this has a standard Earl-style front end, leading length.
So that would not run in the same class?
Absolutely runs in the same class. It's just as fast. The difference being, if you think you're going to spin out with this car, you already did.
Okay.
With that, you have some ability to catch it.
So see, it's all basically one class then.
Exactly.
I see. Very cool.
The only time it changes class is when you get to vintage, because then you have a horsepower change that is so radical, it doesn't work.
Well, pretty amazing. Well, let's take a look at these in action. You'll see how they go. This is pretty exciting. Take a look. So if people want to get involved in sidecar racing, because it seems like it's probably not as expensive as four-wheel car racing, right?
An F1 chassis ready to race, you can get it for under $20,000.
Okay. Well.
And racing is expensive anyway. Anybody knows that if you're going to go racing, the best bet is to have more money than you need.
Well, yeah.
Or no money at all and beg for track time.
A lot of motorcycle guys go from motorcycles to sidecars. Do you get many guys that go four-wheel to three-wheel, or is this just another world to them, and I don't get that at all?
I think we've gotten them both ways. We've had car guys come into the sidecars. We've had motorcycle guys come into the sidecars. In fact, some of our fast guys that only took maybe 1 or 2 races to come up to speed were solo bike racers.
Right.
And they would get off that solo bike and get on an F2 like this, and it was old home week. They were right up to speed.
Hey, well, thanks a lot.
Well, thank you very much.
Real exciting. And if you'd like to know more about this, how do they...
they get a hold of the SRA West.
Okay.
They have a website. It's www.sra-west.us.
And what does SRA stand for?
That stands for Sidecar Racers Association West.
Okay. And check out the website, and it's pretty cool.